Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. Every single month, I love to highlight my favorite plants of that month, so it's time for June favorites. I think it's most fun to gather together the plants that have stood out to me and try to figure out a theme or something cohesive that unifies them, just because I feel like it makes it a little bit more interesting to talk about. So for example, I've done a favorites video featuring plants that have all glowed up in one way or the other, where they started off really small or unimpressive and then became really impressive, and all of those plants were my favorite of that month. Another time, plants that I had kind of chronically neglected were all doing really well at the same time, so I featured all of those. This month, as I was looking around at the plants, trying to find that theme or motif among them, I couldn't come up with anything other than the fact that they're all growing well, which, how revolutionary. I know, it's avant-garde of me. But with that being said, I'm really excited to show you all of these plants. So let's begin. The first plant I'm gonna talk about is up here. Let me grab it. Okay, I'm gonna need to get some B-roll of this guy because it's too big to really show the whole thing on camera. But this is my philodendron gigas, and I have talked quite a bit about this plant on my channel. It's one of my favorite plants, especially one of my favorite philodendron, if not my favorite philodendron that I have in my collection. I'm obsessed with it, and it's been on my favorites before, so I don't want to like go on and on and on about it too much because you guys have heard me raving about it in the past. Like, it's nothing new. However, the thing that is new, let's see if I can give you a good look at this leaf right here. Do you see this newest leaf? It is perhaps pretty much double in size from the previous leaf. So it's really hard to show you on camera. This was the previous leaf. This is the new leaf. When I tell you, like, I could not believe my eyes when this leaf came out. I was just like, so for context, I chopped this plant pretty recently. You can kind of see the history of the plant down here. I chopped it right here. You see that? And then this was a leaf that came after that, which that's to be expected with philodendron. The first leaves that come out after you chop them pretty much tend to be like a dwarf size. And then it came out with like this normal size leaf that's comparable to the leaves that are down here. And then it came out with this one. An ambient humidity, mind you. Like, that is what is absolutely astounding me. And obviously it's grown really tall, but I was not expecting it to bounce back so quickly after being chopped. I do need to maybe like add more moss and add another piece of plant Velcro here to stabilize it. But yeah, philodendron gigas is unmatched, you guys. It's incredible. I love this plant, and the fact that it came out with this leaf, and it's coming out with a new leaf right now. See if I can show you. It's kind of weird to angle it and everything, but like right there, it's coming out with a new leaf. I don't think it's gonna be as big as this one leaf right here. Like, this is just truly mammoth. But on another note, so the reason I took some cuts off the plant in the first place was that, number one, I mean, it was getting really tall, and this is about the limit that I have with these moss poles, I think. Number two, I had a few leaves that were a little bit iffy after I removed it from the cabinet, and it was trying to acclimate, but some of those first new leaves that came out outside of the cabinet were not that great. Number three, I have a friend whose like #1 wishlist plant is philodendron gigas. So I set aside some cuttings for her, which, by the way, those cuttings, this right here, this is the cutting I took, and it's so far beyond ready to send, honestly. I mean, it's grown so much. Like, it's put out like 3 leaves or 4 leaves since I chopped the plant. So, I mean, it's looking really good, and I'm excited about that for my friend. So yeah, Natalie, we need to find a time to send plants to each other. But it has been horribly, horribly hot here the last week or so. So I don't really want to send any plants while it's like heat advisory level. But yeah, that's basically the long and short of it, is leaf big. So actually, while we're on the note of that friend of mine that I'm gonna send the gigas to, she sent me this philodendron El Choco Red, not ages ago, but kind of ages ago. It was less than a year ago, but probably more than 6 months ago at this point. This plant, this El Choco Red, I was not really expecting it to survive because it just didn't handle shipping very well. And I think that her El Choco Red, or at least part of it, also died. She may have been able to salvage a cut, but you know, they're a little bit finicky. So yeah, I mean, mine was nearly rotted. I like fully expected it to not do well, but somehow I managed to revive it. And it's been growing very, very well. So look at how cute that is. It's just been living in my prop box. Oh, November 2023. Yeah. So a little while ago, but it's been growing in my prop box, basically in 100% humidity. Up where my prop boxes are, it is hot because they're in my attic, which is finished. But you know, heat rises and the air conditioning is not very strong up there. So in this heat advisory conditions here in Ohio, oh man, it is toasty up there. But I honestly think that my propagations that are sitting up there have been loving it because they've all been taking off and growing as long as I keep up with watering them, because they are drying out a little bit quicker than they normally would. But yeah, anyway, honestly, all I have to say is I'm amazed at how gorgeous this is looking. It's so cute. And I can't wait to get this growing up a moss pole, probably in my cabinet, because yeah, I will say I am quite nervous because I have heard that these are tricky sometimes and finicky. I mean, even the first several months that I had this plant, it was like on the verge of croaking. I was very nervous, but yeah, he pulled through, and I'm very, very happy to report that he pulled through and he's doing okay. And eventually, one of these days, very soon, I'm gonna have to get him on a pole because he is, I think, pretty much fully rooted in here, it looks like. I mean, it's a little bit hard to tell with the moss sometimes, but I'm pretty sure he is. So maybe in like my next repotting video or plant tours video, or maybe I'll do it off camera. I don't know. At some point this summer, I'm gonna need to get this on a pole, get this started, because I mean, I wanna catch it while it's still little like this so that I can take full advantage of the leaves sizing up. Also, I'm gonna need to make room in the cabinet because goodness gracious, it's quite full in there. I recently removed a few plants and I've been moving some things around, but it's not always easy. I do probably need to get another cabinet. Not need, want. That's probably not gonna happen for a while yet. I know these guys just get honestly so big and gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to those pillowy kind of heart-shaped leaves. It's not looking extremely red right now. Normally El Choco reds kind of maybe have like a little bit more reddishness going on, but I sort of expect that maybe once I change up the conditions, it'll kind of switch things up on me. I don't know. We'll have to see. Next, I have to talk about my Hoya compacta. This is one, so it's not looking incredibly impressive yet, but compared to what it used to be, it's honestly, I'm really proud of how far it's come. I've struggled a lot with this plant over how long have I even owned this? I'm honestly losing track of the years when it comes to my plants. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but let me know if you're also losing track, because there is one point in my plant ownership where I could identify exactly like which year I got each plant. But the longer time has gone on and the longer I've been a mom in general of like my own 2 kids, I'm like losing track of time, honestly. Like it's just not, everything is running together now and anyway, but I feel like I've had this plant for at least a year, maybe probably 2 years. I feel like I got a Hoya compacta when I started this YouTube channel, so it's been probably over 2 years, but this is the best it's ever looked, the healthiest it has ever looked. Honestly, for the longest time, it just wasn't really growing for me. Some of the growth at the bottom here, it's hard to tell on camera, but it's a little bit chlorotic and yellow. But more recently, it's really taken off. I mean, look at all of this lush new growth. It's honestly so beautiful. It's actively growing right now. Specifically like this summer, it has been so good. And I'm honestly so happy that it's finally doing well for me. I mean, just look how green. Like just, it's such a nice deep green right here. This is one of those plants where I have been longing to have a perfect lush specimen, but it's required a lot of patience. But I will say things are really looking up for this plant right now, and I'm relieved for that to be the case. This is a big plant and it's going to take some effort to fit it into the frame, but this is my Scindapsus Pictus exotica, and holy moly, this plant has been looking so handsome recently. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's so beautiful. This is a plant that I always really enjoy. Oh, it looks like it did snap here at some point. This is a plant that I always enjoy and appreciate, but I don't always fully notice how it's growing. I feel like trailing plants like this, they tend to grow without you noticing a whole lot because, you know, it's all kind of together. Whereas, you know, with climbing philodendron and stuff like that, you usually notice and anticipate every single leaf, whereas this has multiple vines going with multiple new leaves at any given point. But I have particularly noticed recently that this plant has been growing so much. Like, look at that. And let me see, this is another new leaf. And there's a bunch more probably towards the bottom here too, but it's been filling out on top some, which I've really been loving. And it's also filling out and continuing to trail on the bottom. Look at that, that's another new leaf. It's just, it's been catching my eye a lot. I'm just so happy because this is a plant that I really love having in my collection, but I feel like I don't always give it the attention that it deserves because it is so low maintenance, and I don't really have to think about it that often. And it's also kind of by itself in a corner. It's sitting on a bookshelf and it looks stunning there, but I'm not actively really thinking about it that much because it's not in a plant section. Like, kind of behind me is more of a plant section. You know, it's kind of by itself. It's a loner, which on the one hand, it makes it stand out, but on the other hand, I'm not always looking out for the growth, if that makes any sense. It's more there as decoration and for aesthetic purposes, even though obviously I do love it like I love my other plants. It's just a little bit different. Oh my goodness, it is raining now. It's like pouring. I don't know if you can hear that on my mic, but it is absolutely pouring rain right now. Hey, I will take it. It's a vibe. It's been so hot, and hopefully this rain will cool things down for us. What was I even saying about this plant? Relatively recently, I did chop it quite a bit. I took a bunch of propagations and it had kind of slowed down in growing and had given me a lot of yellow leaves, which I don't think that it was due to unhealth. I think it was just kind of ready to let go of those leaves. But of course, it was looking a little bit more barren for a few weeks there. But yeah, all of a sudden it's really taken off again and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. This is probably, I don't know, is this my favorite Scindapsus? It might be. I feel like that's a little bit basic of me, but until I get my hands on a Scindapsus mayari, this will probably end up being my favorite just because the leaves are so big and this plant specifically is so lush and low maintenance for me. And honestly, I've never had any issues with it giving me runners either, which is quite remarkable for the Scindapsus genus in my opinion, because every other Scindapsus in my collection has given me runners, except yeah, this one has not. It has continued to grow really, really nicely and be really full for me, and I'm just so grateful for that. Oh, I was about to say last but not least, but I just realized that there is a whole nother plant I'm going to talk about after this. So it's not last but not least. I actually intended this to be like a relatively short video, but of course I'm rambling and maybe I'll edit out a bunch of stuff, but this is not short right now. I've been filming for like 40 minutes at this point. I always end up talking way too much and then I have to cut most of it. But anyway, this right here is my Hoya polynera, and I'm gonna try to keep it brief because I have featured this plant a lot recently. I repotted it recently and then I also had it in my Hoya collection video, but I just could not talk about it because recently in my Hoya collection video, I saw footage of kind of when I first got the plant and I did not realize how much this plant had grown. But here we are. It has grown so much. Maybe I'll like link one of those videos or something so that if you do want to go check that out, you can. But in general, like, this plant is just stunning. It grows for me nonstop. I feel like it's always putting out new leaves, and it's such a deep and gorgeous green. I love the way that it trails. If you know me, trailing Hoya is like my favorite thing ever. I love trailing Hoya. And I mean, I have nothing against trellised Hoya. And obviously I love like my big leafed Hoya that don't necessarily trail as easily. There's something about Hoya that trails that just tickles the right spot for me. You know what I mean? So it's just unmatched in how gorgeous it is and the way that it cascades. And I love how uniform all the leaves are too. That's another really underrated thing, because like a lot of trailing philodendron and Scindapsus and stuff like that, like the leaves get smaller and smaller and smaller as they trail, but not so with Hoya, at least not in my experience. These leaves are super consistent and uniform, and even like the distance between the leaves is also uniform. So that's just kind of like a little thing that I appreciate about this plant and that I think is so so nice. And I don't know, I don't often think about that, but I just think it's great. And the other really cool thing about Hoya is that it can grow kind of from like any spot. So this plant has, you know, branched off automatically. Like this is an offshoot of this vine right here, and I just think that that is really cool. And it has a new growth point. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you successfully, but trust me, there is a new growth point down there, kind of from the base of the stem. So I am expecting a whole new vine. So it's doing the work of filling itself out for me. I don't even have to do the business of taking propagations and putting it back in the pot. Like you can, but you don't necessarily need to. And it looks so full, so lush. It's getting so long and I love it. It's been catching my eye every single day. Okay, and then the last plant that I almost forgot about, but like if I forgot about it, I would be so upset at myself because this has actually been arguably the plant that I've been most excited about this month. And that is right here. Let's see if I can, oh, sad. Okay, there is one sad thing I just noticed, but it's okay. This is my Anthurium crystallinum. So I repotted this plant into a self-watering pot and I took it out of the cabinet. So I was actually quite nervous about how all of those transitions were going to be handled by this plant. And this plant went above and beyond and it decided to put out like 3 or 4 leaves at the same exact time, which is crazy because there's only technically 2 plants in here. So each plant was putting out multiple leaves at the same time, which is bizarre, but sometimes Anthurium do that. And so this right here is one of those new leaves, and it's not massive. I mean, it's still hardening off, so like it still has some time. It's not absolutely massive or anything, but like it's not ripped or anything like that, which is remarkable considering I took it out of the cabinet and it had to adapt to ambient humidity. This is another new leaf. Right here, it's a little bit smaller, but still honestly quite immaculate, all things considered. And then this leaf right here is still emerging. And so I'm really eager to see how that one turns out. And then the thing that I said was sad. So it had started putting out a 4th leaf right here. I don't know if you can see it. See right there? But I just looked at it just now and realized that it killed itself off, which, I mean, I guess fair enough. That would have been the 4th leaf that it was trying to put out basically like in tandem with those other 3 leaves, and it was probably too much. It was probably a little bit over ambitious. So I forgive you, Anthurium crystallinum, for failing because the other 3 are looking gorgeous. But still, even the fact that it attempted to put out a 4th leaf, I'm just like, girl, really? Are you sure about that? But also, hey, that's amazing. So suffice it to say, I think that it's really enjoying its new pot. It's looking so good right now, and I'm just really, really happy about it. Honestly, as a side note, so I recently did, was it this month or maybe it was last month, I did an Anthurium plant care video dedicated to Anthurium. It was kind of like a spa day for my Anthurium, so if you're interested in that, I will link it in the cards. Is it this one or this one? I never know. And that's when I repotted this plant. I also like fertilized it. I gave it some myco, I think is what it's called, or TPS billions or whatever. I think it's something that kind of helps with the immune system of the plant, so I added that to it. And I think all those things combined really helped this plant to take off. And I will say all of the Anthurium from that video that I treated pretty much immediately after I did all that care for them, like they really took off. Like each one of them, they had kind of stagnated a little bit, but now all of them have put out new leaves, like every single one of them. And I'm so happy about that. It's really fun to see the reward of, hey, you put in the labor, you put in the work, you pamper those plants, and then they turn around and grow really well for you. That's gonna be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All those things are super helpful for my channel. And if you want to comment down below with your favorite plant in June, please do, because I would love to hear about your plant collections. I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye bye.